Well, welcome to Black History Conversations. It's Friday, the 14th of November. I understand, and we'll be hearing more from Jamaica, but apparently the sun's shining out there. Garrett, you look as if you're sitting there. We're
Yes,
also
I'm in the sunshine.
Uh, but also we're welcoming Professor Robert Moore with us. Robert, it's lovely to see you again. Simon Faringo, who's our wonderful host of these sessions, and I'm Liz Millman. So Simon, myself and Garrick, we're all members of Learning Links International, and Robert's a member of a North Wales group called the North Wales uh,
Regional Equality Network.
Equality Network.
Equality Network. How could I?
You're in, yeah.
Okay, so we're welcoming Barrington Richardson, the Director of Education, Regional Director of Education for Clarendon, with us today. So we're just asking, how are you doing over there, Barrington? We understand the sun's shining, but we have to tell you that we have a dreadful storm over here, and we can't think where that came from. Right, okay then. So over to you, Barrington. Please, can you give us an update on what's happening in Clarendon at the moment? We're wonderful.
Thank you very much, Liz. Let me say great greetings to everyone again. Um, Here in Jamaica, the sun is shining as we continue to recover from the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. Hurricane Melissa would have caused a number of damage to several aspects of our country, and education was not spared. A number of our learning institutions and their communities would have been so affected, whether by damage experienced to the educational institutions at all levels, and I'm talking from early childhood to tertiary. We also would have experienced a number of our students and their families would have been displaced. Many would have lost their roof to their homes, property, livelihood in terms of those who depend on farming. And so with that comes a lot of trauma. A number of our adults, educators, parents, students are now engaged in psychosocial support, just to walk them through the category 5 experience and how they can now be armed with the tools of recovery as we continue to build back as a country, as a parish here in Clarendon, and to support the return and the reopening of our schools and our students back to the learning space. And so if you allow me to share screen, I would want to give you another update as to where we are in this process. Though, as I said before, we are making strides towards recovery, we still are moving a little slow in some areas. So I will share with you an updated presentation.
Thanks very much indeed, Barrington. I mean, it's so interesting, from our point of view, but also as we are trying to find ways that we may be able to help. Um, this information is invaluable for us. Thank you so much.
Yes, and so let me pause as I bring my slides up to say thanks to Learning Links, International, and all the partners and supporters in Wales, for the tremendous, and when I say tremendous, that may be still an understatement, but the tremendous support that we have received so far, from check-ins on a daily basis, whether by a phone call, a WhatsApp message, jumping online to just offer words of consolation and affirmation, which I would have extended to my team and across the educational landscape in Clarendon. Um, and just the way that you have taken on this, our own experience here in Jamaica as a personal project, it means a lot to us, for the contributions being made to help us to prepare and deliver care packages to those who are affected, and to provide educational resources for families and students, and just to help to repair schools that were so damaged. Um, I want to say on behalf of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, and Region 7, and all our schools and all our benefactors, thank you so much for the thought and for the tangible support that we are receiving. It helps as we move along to recovery.
Barrington, it's the least we can do, but we're pleased that it's recognised. Thank you very much indeed.
Most welcome. All right, so just for
As I was saying, it's the 14th of November now. The hurricane actually hit on the 27th, was it, of October? So this is
yes,
a really valuable opportunity to reflect, where you're at now,
yeah,
several weeks on.
indeed, indeed. And so as we reflect this morning as to where we have come since the passage of Hurricane Melissa, we continue to be grateful, for the progress we have made, and we continue to be resilient towards the end of the tunnel. And so, just to share where we were and then bring us forward, we have a total of 109 public schools within the parish of Clarendon. Just to indicate that 31% of our schools would have reported no infrastructural damage. It would mean more than 50% of our schools experienced damage to their infrastructure. So 69% would have sustained varying levels of damage. If we should break those institutions down by different levels, we would see that one of our five one of our five infant schools suffered damage, and more than, well, 31% of our, more than 50% of our primary schools, approximately, I think it would have been 56 of our primary schools did suffer damage, and 15 of our high schools suffered damage. When we talk about damage, we talk about whether the roof was compromised or totally blown off. Classrooms and other facilities flooded. Roadways became impassable, could not access the facilities. Electrical issues compromised, networks compromised. We're talking about damage to the canteens and tuck shops. Schools having no water supply, electricity cut off, and I will provide you further updates on those. Windows and doors broken or blown out. So it varies across the schools. Just to indicate that of our 18 high schools, these are the schools that experienced damage. The ones highlighted in red are the most severe. Happy to report that Clarendon College, Central High, Edwin Allen, they partially reopened with their exam grades, which is the grade 11 to 13. They're trying to test what's happening with their facility, though they are still without electricity, but they are mindful that their exam students who will be exiting in a couple of months would need to get some additional preparation. So they have started with those in the sections of the building that was not destroyed. And here we have the listing of our affected primary school institutions. And there you have it, 56, and those highlighted in red are the ones that were severely affected. Main Ridge to date has not reopened. I just spoke with the principal this morning. We're trying to relocate them to another facility, hopefully for Monday. His team is currently on their way to the site. We're trying to get them new furniture. We're trying to get them portable bathrooms and a generator so that they can house their students in a nearby building that was not affected temporarily. Their building was totally destroyed. It cannot be reused as is. So we're trying to accommodate the children at another space. Electricity is still an issue. We cannot appreciate that a Category 4 hurricane would have left a lot of our utility infrastructure compromised. And so the more rural you go within the parish, it is more difficult it is for restoration. So to date, this number has now changed. We are now at 26 of our 109 public institutions have been restored in terms of electricity. So you still see the majority of our schools in the parish are still without electricity.
Just to quickly recap, Barrington, Clarendon is south central Jamaica, and the main town in Clarendon is Maypen, and really your rural schools in the north of Clarendon go right up into the hills. So those schools seem to have been ones that were quite most hit, I think, if I'm
Yes,
right.
yes, are mostly affected, generally speaking.
And then the
So
schools to the south, which is a flatter area. And unfortunately, I mean, Portland Cottage got really devastated last time, but not this time, it seems.
right, yes, not this time because the hurricane diverted to the west of the
Yeah.
island, and so it didn't pass directly on that side. What they are experiencing though is power outage. They are still not without power, most of them. But in terms of infrastructure, they stood up well this time around.
That's great.
The schools in Maypen and the local area on the plain, they did not suffer much infrastructure damage, but they suffered water loss and electricity. But they have been restored. But as I say, as we go further outward into South and North Clarendon, they are still affected, not having adequate water supply and electricity.
Wow.
Most of the roadways are now cleared, but we still have challenges in some areas because the rain continues. And so there are areas that are experiencing landslides, and they have to be constantly clearing to allow persons to have access to the different areas.
Right, so
But it is better days.
the weather isn't clear. There's still a lot of rain.
Yes, yes, yes. For example, yesterday I took my team along with some of our schools to St. Elizabeth to participate in what we call a ministry-led school cleanup activity, meaning the schools that were severely affected in the West, other regions that were not so badly affected, we tried to give our support in aiding their reopening. So we took a team of 97 persons yesterday to
Really?
support St. Elizabeth schools, and half of the day we had flood rain, if I should call it that. So they are still the island is still experiencing rain in those parts. You can imagine that recovery and cleanup is still challenging, especially where you have serious damage to roof. As you clean up, there comes the rain, and you have to keep repeating the activity. But the people remain resilient and strong.
Gosh, that's a really interesting challenge, isn't, well, not interesting, but the way you're describing it makes you realize why it is taking such a long time to.
Mhm. Yes, it is. It is. All right, so I could skip this. This is what we would have shared. All right, so where are we now? Um,
This week you were looking to reopen schools, as you say, many of
yes,
them still have
yes.
no power, but
So,
they're open.
right. So all our 26 schools with electricity have reopened, to include other schools that are not yet powered, but they do have adequate water supply. They have reopened. So all five of our infant schools are now open. Um, 80, 84 of our primary schools are open. We still have two that are unable to reopen. That is Mainridge Primary, which I mentioned earlier, and Anderson Town Primary. If for those who would have been following the international news, you would have probably heard of Bog Hole,
Yeah.
where the severe flooding and the common transportation at the time was rafting. That's how the persons were able to traverse. They had to be creative in creating their own rafting transportation. It has now subsided, but a lot of the houses and buildings there were almost submerged underwater, to include Anderson Town. And so we are still having cleanup activities of that school. So two of our primary schools are yet to open. 17 of our 18 high schools are now open. Knox has not yet reopened. I visited them on Monday, along with Edwin Allen High and Clarendon College. They have opened with a small number of students, but Knox will try to reopen on Monday coming. Just to note though I am reporting that a number of these schools have reopened, they have reopened under fair conditions, given that they dismiss earlier than usual. So they're having reduced hours per day, because the afternoon becomes a little dark, and without electricity, it would not be favorable to have the children in the classrooms. And also, in the afternoon, we tend to have rain in the rural parts, and the roofs are not yet repaired. And so it is safe to say, have them in the morning and dismiss them early until conditions become favorable.
Are the children who aren't able to go home because their homes are too badly damaged, or has most of that been sorted out?
All right, so let me share with you where we are with that. So for Clarendon, we have been accommodating students from the West in our schools, those that their schools were destroyed or not yet reopened, and they have family and relatives living in Clarendon. The parents have relocated them temporarily, and they are now attending our schools in Clarendon. We are moving though, as a ministry is now embarking on special accommodation across parishes that are not so affected. And so three of our schools so far are being prepared to accept students. We have Denby High School, we have Glenmuir High, and we have Knox College, which is our boarding institution in the parish. Denby High is able to accommodate 100. Glenmuir, I believe, will be able to accommodate 80. And Knox College, in their boarding facility, will be able to accommodate 50 students. And for the day school, another 50. And so we're trying to make arrangements for that. In the West, though, the ministry is implementing what we call mobile schools, and so where we are able to identify safe spaces, whether on the said campus of the schools or other areas, um, temporary structures, tents are being put up to accommodate students temporarily so that education can continue until the schools are fully retrofitted and ready for official reopening.
Right, that's fantastic.
All right, so psychosocial support for us is very critical. We know the research shows that what happens after a natural disaster, the trauma that it can have on those who would have experienced it, both adults and children, to include those who are on the front line to deliver educational services. And so we would have embarked on psychosocial support for all our teachers and other staff members within our schools. We would have also done psychosocial support for all our guidance counselors in the parish, and they are now providing a similar psychosocial support for the students as they return to school, and also for parents and families that were traumatized during the experience. We also know that because of the devastation, a number of our families are unable to continue earning, mainly those who depend on farming. For most of them, their livelihood would have been washed out, washed away, depleted. Many lost their cattle. Many lost their farms, and so we are spending a lot of time in providing welfare support through the Ministry of Labor, Social Security as a national response, but as a region, as a parish, we are doing a lot in providing care packages, educational supplies, clothing, and just items that they would need to get by each day as the children return to school. So as a region, we have as a parish in education, we have our Yet We Rise relief box, and that is what we use mainly to support families and students and schools by extension um, to get back on their feet and to return to some sense of normalcy. All right, I think that's where we are. A number of our schools would have had their furniture damaged, and so we are also making efforts to replace them. And so you can see on screen some of those schools that we are treating with at this time. So I believe, in summary, that is where we are as a parish, and I tried to give you also a picture as to the country in terms of the West where we are. Thank
Well,
you for listening.
thank you so much, Barrington Richardson. As Regional Director of Clarendon, you have an enormous responsibility and enormous challenges. Thank you so much for that. So I don't know if there are any questions straight away or points to raise, and then we can hear perhaps a little bit more about
Yeah.
yesterday's trip to St. Elizabeth. Garrick.
Yeah, if I can just ask a couple of questions, please, Barrington. I have been posting news updates in the building Bridges of Friendship, and I notice the Royal Navy, who have done some extremely good work, are actually moving away from Jamaica in the next couple of days, according to the report. So they've erected, a number of buildings on the island. But you mentioned you visited St. Elizabeth, and one of the reports that came over the TV, Jamaica TV, a few days ago was in relation to agriculture and farming and how that has hit the island economically, according to its export, but also locally for the people who actually, produce these things. And St. Elizabeth is one of the parish, along with Portland. We say they are the food basket of the island. They feed the rest of the country, and of course, exporting abroad. What was it like actually going into St. Elizabeth and seeing, visibly the damage?
Wow, thank you for that question, Garrick. Our travel yesterday into St. Elizabeth was nothing like what we saw on the social media. A matter of fact, it was worst.
Mm,
Nothing like what we recall it to be as the breadbasket of Jamaica. All we see, or most of what we saw, was the color brown. Everything was brown. Trees ripped in pieces, buildings without roof. We saw no vegetation, no farm. Everything was flat and down. The only thing we saw that was green was an almond tree
wow.
stood up in a desolate place with green leaves as if it was saying,
Mm,
there is hope.
wow.
That was the only thing we saw.
Yeah. And
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 so
and the thing is,
we saw no scallion, we saw
no.
no cabbage, we saw no tomato, everything. We saw cars of all brands in bushes, leaned up, jacked up. We saw how I could share with you shortly some of the pictures and videos we took as we drove along the coastline
Yes.
and also as we drove through Black River town. It's just utter desolation.
Yeah. And the thing is, Barrington, for people that are probably not familiar with that part of the country, the Appleton estate that grows the sugar, because my father's place is in Taunton, right, in St. Elizabeth, along the borders with the Appleton estate. Um, I suspect all of the Appleton estate would have been destroyed.
I I can't say yes because we did not actually explore that aspect, but I can imagine they would have been affected.
Yeah, yeah.
Gosh, just amazing
Mm.
and worrying. We've got Jackie Pennant with us. Jackie, is there anything that you want to ask Barrington?
Um, Barrington, hi. I know must have been rough going there yesterday. I was just wondering, as far as mental health, you know, how how are people doing now? Are they still in shock or is there, are people coming out and still working together to get things done, or is there a state of shock going on in the country?
It's a mixed. It is mixed. There are those who are still in shock, those who are still trying to come to terms with their degree of loss,
Hmm.
because some would have lost everything.
Right.
Some, when we drove through yesterday, we saw like an entire settlement, a community entirely flat. All we saw were debris and what looked like just like a bomb went off and the entire place was up in this rubble. And persons were like going through, cleaning up, probably trying to pick what could be salvaged
Hmm.
from what is left of their property. So you could see evidence that those were houses, but there's no structure. You see damaged television, you see refrigerators, you see settees, you see all kinds of furniture and clothing just all over the place.
Hmm.
So yes, there are persons who are working together
Hmm.
among themselves with external entities to kind of do the cleanup activities and trying to rebuild for those who can. There are those who have moved out completely for those who have somewhere
Hmm.
else to go. And there are those who you see sitting under tarpaulins as to where their houses were, and they are just sitting in despair. And
Hmm.
so there is no, I think next week, counseling services will be going down to the West to provide that kind of check-in counseling for those who require it, whether individual or group, and to kind of take some data to see how they can be assisted through the social services.
Hmm.
But it's going to be a long journey because where the houses were in some areas, wisdom would suggest that those houses cannot be replaced at the same location.
Right.
So they were built close to the sea line, and the water surge, sea surge would have decimated those places totally. A matter of fact, we saw loads of sea sand on the other side of the road where the
Mm.
communities were. And I'm saying loads of sand that could fill trucks. What it means is that the sea crossed the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it what it did, the houses that were on the side of the sea were totally destroyed, and it crossed the road to the other settlements
Mm.
and destroyed those as well. So
Mm.
there's no safe haven on the
Hmm.
coastline.
Hmm.
No.
And so the government is saying We can't expend resources to rebuild on the coastline as it is. We
Mm-hmm.
have to go further in, and the structures that persons would have had there, which was mostly board structures, we can't rebuild. And so that is the kind of desolation, but the kind of thing that the persons are saying, does it make sense for us to rebuild here? If
Right.
not here, where else?
Right.
Yeah, so it is very layered and compound. But you are correct, Jackie, to ask. A lot of persons are in dismay. A
Mm-hmm.
matter of fact, when my team came back in the night in our WhatsApp group, and as we drove home to drop persons off, they were concerned about a lady they saw sitting under a tarpaulin, would suggest that's where she lived. But
Mm-hmm.
on that span of land, she was the only person we saw sitting there. There
Mm-hmm.
is no light in that area. As a matter of fact, all of St. Elizabeth, for the most part, is without electricity. And we were wondering what happens to her at midnight?
Yes.
Will she
Mm-hmm.
sit there all night? And
Mm-hmm.
you could see that possibly she's saying, this is where I once slept, cooked my
Okay.
meal. This was once home and it's nowhere. And I'm sure there are many others like her across. And so a lot of work will have to be done in terms of, counseling and restoring hope, but
Yeah.
more so to show them a
Mm.
way as to how they can once again feel dignified as a citizen to call
Uh,
somewhere home. So
Yeah.
the
yeah.
journey is going to be long.
Yeah.
Because like the way I look at it, you want to help, but there's only so much you can do. But it's almost
Yes.
like Jamaica's never going to be the same, and we got to think of things outside of the box as far as how to help. You know what I mean? Because like for me, I'm concerned about the elderly, like you said, the lady sitting outside of her home, and I was just wondering, something like adopt a family. You know what I mean? Where
Yes.
somebody adopts a family and you provide them with financial assistance, where it goes directly to the people, not just
Yeah.
to entities,
Yes.
because I'm concerned about what,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. I've heard of different groups,
Hmm.
whether NGOs or otherwise, that came up with the adopt a family, adopt a child, that kind
Hmm.
of thing.
Hmm.
A number of persons have started that.
Hmm.
So we are hoping that that will continue in a larger scale.
Hmm. Hmm.
Barrington, is it correct? Because there's a lot of information out in the public domain, and trying to filter what is factual or from fake news, as the term would be. I read that the Montego Bay Sangsters Airport has actually been repaired and would be back in business.
Well, it is back in business. I wouldn't say it is completely repaired, but it was repaired sufficient enough to uh, have flights going out and coming in. So
Yes,
there's
that's what I read. I read that yesterday. I just wanted to check that
still
out.
in the recovery process,
Mm,
but flights, yes,
okay. Mm.
yes, they have.
I think one of the things that I heard was that uh, the runways may be possible, but the buildings, the airport buildings, are still under repair. So,
Yeah.
oh, it's so very difficult. Now, Barrington, I don't want to keep you because you've got 101 things to be doing. Robert, have you got any comments that you want to make at the moment? We're doing our best to help in whatever way we can, and maybe it'll be Sunday or Monday now, Garrett, that we'll be doing
Yes.
a
Yeah.
You can tell me how you get on in Bangor on
Yes, tomorrow. Yeah.
tomorrow morning. Oh, Barrington, you're going to show us some more of your pictures. Robert, is there anything that you wanted to comment?
There was just one question I wanted to ask. In terms of the media coverage in the UK, it rather implied that by far the worst damage was on the western tip of Jamaica. But I mean, I'm not clear. Was it concentrated there and much worse than is being described in Clarendon, or was it pretty much the same all the way from Clarendon to the western end of Jamaica?
Barrington, I think if I can come in there, just to say that yesterday Coy Roach on the Jamaica Wales Alliance meeting, Coy said that it's like there's two countries, the east of the country, Kingston, and as far as Maypen and a little bit further, things are getting back to normal, the power's back on, things are in the shops, things are okay. But
Okay,
it's
am I
like
back?
yes, you're back, Barrington.
Yes,
The west
sorry about
of
that.
the island is really badly, so badly devastated. So, yes, it's, I was saying, Coy was saying yesterday, it's like two countries. The eastern end of the island, side of the island, is not nearly as badly affected as, oh, this area obviously looks like somewhere in St.
Oh,
Elizabeth.
it's demolition. Yeah, demolition site.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So we were now entering Black River town, the town
Mm.
of Black River,
Yeah.
and this is what we saw.
While you were doing this, Barrington, did you take care packages with you on this occasion or not? Just unbelievable, isn't it?
Oh, oh dear.
And these are substantial buildings, many of these,
Yes,
aren't they?
yes, yes, they are. But if you look at that church, Liz, the 300-year-old church that was ripped apart, only a couple of walls standing and a stained glass, it just tell you you know, the power of the
So you
Category
see
5.
there, the tractors are doing cleanup.
Yes,
That building you see, that's a church. It was totally destroyed.
that's the one. That's the one that was featured on the news. Yes.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So in going out, what was the aim of you going out for your
So
two
we actually went to schools to
yeah.
assist their cleanup.
Oh, right.
So this is on the coastline. You see
Yeah.
the houses
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
destroyed.
Yeah. Oh,
And
it's hard.
those are solid. Those are solid stone. Now, can you imagine the wooden ones?
No, these are concrete structures.
Yes. Concrete. Yeah. Yeah.
So concrete structures were not spared.
No. Not at all.
So directly behind these houses is the sea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the
So you
sea.
see on both sides were destroyed. On
Yeah.
the side of the sea, and it went right over.
Yeah. So the sea surge, how deep was that?
Well, I'm not sure.
Oh,
Did it come over this road?
It must have done in order to destroy the other side.
Yeah.
So as far as we traveled, this is all we saw.
oh dear.
Concrete walls were down.
Yeah.
That's a shock to see, isn't it?
Yes. So
And the wind with so much rain, because, not concrete walls don't get heavier in the rain, but other things, when they're sodden, they're heavier. So
Yeah.
the even more damage to them. Oh gosh, that's
so this
amazing.
is some of the team members. These are some of my staff members.
Yes.
We were at one of the schools in St. Elizabeth. And these are the buses, a Clarendon College bus and Cross Primary. They loan us their bus to take the persons up.
Yeah.
And these are
Yeah.
some of the guidance counselors that we took from Clarendon and teachers for them to help. So we were cleaning classrooms.
Yeah.
It's because they want to reopen with some of their children next week. So we went to just give our support to get their schools ready. So these are persons we took.
Mm.
Very good.
So that's
Well,
us on our way going down to support them. This is another group we took. This is another school um, that they were cleaning up. We're handing over some items, water, um, bags of flour, rice, sugar, so they could share with their parents and their children. This is the team cleaning, helping to cut trees that were falling in the schoolyard,
yeah.
cleaning out the classrooms, trying to, secure their pride trophies. This is a principal in Northern Clarendon,
Mm.
Stacyville Primary to be exact. So they're helping them to get their stuff together. This is an education officer from my office
Mm.
um, here helping.
What's the situation, Barrington, with access to food supply in Clarendon?
It's okay. In Clarendon, it's fine in terms of access.
Right.
Because the commercial economic town of Maypen was not severely affected. Business has returned to the town.
Yeah.
But as I said, the further you go into the rural parts, it's difficult to access unless they have to travel to the town of Maypen.
Mm.
But there's no
So access
challenge.
to banks, or the banks reopen?
Yes, the banks have reopened in Maypen. Um, right. But like in the West, no. We couldn't get cooked meals yesterday.
Mm.
Um, we had to depend on what we brought with us
Yeah.
Right.
until we got back.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
In any disaster situation, one of the most important things is the restoration of clean water.
Yes.
Has that been a particular problem?
Oh, in some areas, because of the disturbance to the water levels, for some areas, it's still a little murky, muddy. And so the Water Commission that has responsibility for that has not turned on most of their pumps or their water stations because it would not be the best thing right now until it has settled.
Yeah.
And again, um, because of the lack of electricity, the pumps cannot be generated without that.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if they are able to turn them on, they don't have the power to do so. So it's still a serious assessment period that the country is going through to ensure all utility matters are addressed. So when they're ready to flick that switch to turn on power, we don't have any other disaster in terms of fire.
And in terms of disease like cholera, etc., what's the situation on the ground?
All right, the most recent health report that was published, there is no evidence or sign of any such, but we are being cautioned that the quicker cleanup takes place on a
Yeah,
large scale, it is the best insulator against the possibilities.
of
So that
outbreak.
is the
Yeah,
focus now, to
yeah.
do massive island-wide cleanup. So the government has launched a national cleanup initiative, and the entire country, in particular areas that were severely affected, will be targeted for that national cleanup.
I'm thinking about animal that is trapped beneath debris, etc.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, so that is the focus.
Mm-hmm.
This is
So
amazing.
is water going out in tankers at the moment, or is bottled water being supplied?
Repeat that, please.
Are tankers supplying fresh water, or is it bottled water that's being supplied to areas without clean
Both,
water?
both.
Right,
So we have trucked water into areas that do not have any supply, and they've filled their tanks, and then there are also bottled purified water that is in heavy circulation
right.
across the different communities.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And these pictures are just telling
Mhm.
so many stories, so many stories.
Yes.
And it's important for those of you who know that others are suffering to feel that you can do something. And I think it's a wonderful initiative that you're getting your staff out there into the affected areas towards the west of the island
And
to
it's a
address.
part, Liz and team, it's a part of our own psychosocial
Yeah,
support as
yeah,
well, because when you think that you are, so bogged down with your own experience, your own circumstance,
yeah,
and when you go out and see what's happening to the other brothers and sisters on the other side of the island, you realize that you have much to be thankful for,
yeah, yeah,
and the team members have said, sir, thank you so much,
yeah.
for allowing us to go out, because we can now inspire hope in a greater way to our schools in Clarendon, as because
Yes.
we have seen the devastation. The
And the effort,
teachers
yeah,
and the principals that came with us, they are saying, boy, we thought we were in a bad state, but when we think about our others, we have much to thankful for. Sir, we are more committed to
Yeah,
get our schools up and running and to take care of our children. So the kind of impact that this had yesterday is far reaching as
yeah.
we all seek to recover together.
yeah,
I think it, as you say, it's about recovering together the whole island, and and to an extent, the people who are some extent traumatized, worrying about what's happening on the island. So, yes, it's just brilliant. There's so much information, but to have your wonderfully balanced presentation and reflection has been just wonderful, so helpful. May we share this, Barrington? Is that okay?
Sure, sure, Liz, sure.
Wonderful. So, as you know, we're endeavouring with our efforts to see if we can get some additional funding for you. We've approached the Douglas Pennant Family Foundation and asked and suggested that now is the time that they release the funding that they've held for some time. Obviously, there needs to be a lot of discussion about that. But one thing I wondered, and I don't know if I've put it in writing yet, Barrington, if you did get 5 minutes today, I wonder if you can follow up that email that I sent directly to the Douglas Pennant Family Foundation to Michael,
Oh, yes, yes, I saw it, Liz.
just to say to him that you would so fully appreciate any support that can be given, and you think that this is a good proposal. I mean, I assume you think it's a good proposal.
It is, it is. I will do the follow-up.
Thank you. And we'll see as next week rolls in, because then that could give you funding immediately to address some of the smaller and just a few of the larger issues. I mean, it still won't go a long way, but at least it would be better than the small contributions that will be coming in otherwise. We're getting round to all the schools in North Wales and possibly across Wales too. But now we feel that we can really speak with confidence that we know what's happening, and thank you so much for your time. I suggest that we finish now. Jackie, is that all right? Okay, Gary?
That's fine. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Just to say, Barrington, please convey our love and our thought with your team and the work they're doing. We are with you in spirit, even though we're not there physically to assist you, but we're with you, and we also feel your pain as you go through this restoration period.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Gary.
Garrick. And we feel the love and
Thank
we
you for
feel
that.
the support.
Okay, well, thank
Take
you
care.
very much indeed, all of you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, then, Simon. I think we'll finish the session now then.
Yes, that'll be
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.